What's up, and welcome back, fellow Siege spectators and players. I'm the Reverend Whiskey Glitter, guiding you through these last two matches, and in the Crucible, the heat is relentless, and the next match already has some sparks. I'm joined by Caster Fellow and Caster Chaka. How are you guys doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Whiskey. This is the first time that we've all been together on a desk. I've seen you do a lot of great work inside of the closed call for SI, doing all those co-streams, which for my prep work, I'm extremely thankful for, knowing how those matches went before the LCQ. And Chaka, I know we've talked in the past, but we've never been on the desk before as well, so I'm glad we get to work together finally.
Yeah, this will be our first little dry run together. We haven't casted before. Like you mentioned, you've only really given me feedback. So now you actually get a chance to cast with me and then give me live feedback. So that's kind of scary, but I'm excited for it.
So let's get right into it, fellow. I'm going to start with you. Team Cruelty, right? Making third place at the LCQ. They've beat Outlast all victory. The question is Team Cruelty the strongest team in Crucible currently?
They might be one of the best teams to look at currently. You know, the Wizards and Core, they had a fantastic game, 2 back-to-back full overtime games for Core, and they've constantly been improving as well throughout their element run in playoffs. So I think there's a lot of phenomenal teams to look at, but Cruelty on paper, they should be one of the best. You're absolutely right, Whiskey. You got to look at people like Ivan, like Pyroxes. When they are on fire, it shows. I think Pyroxes has some of the best kill stats from that past LCQ game, other than OXG, where they had literally everybody popping off. But that was only for a couple of matches. There were also some games where Cruelty were ice cold. They weren't hitting their mark, finding those key entries, entering into the building, and overall just not being able to play as a team effectively enough to beat those top teams like Wildcard, where they got decimated that first match, day number 1. Me and Crow casted that, and we were in and out in less than an hour, it felt like.
Sheesh. So, Chaka, we'll hit the other side of it, back to Outlast. Rai, Zonky, Vapoa, they have this storied history, right? From their time together in E2. Is this the key? They failed to qualify in the first attempt. Is this Core their chance to redeem the loss and elimination from E4 by Cruelty?
Yeah, Outlast are certainly a really good team. This Core, like you mentioned, have been together for just about a year, maybe even 2. This was not only, before this, they were TSG, and then before that, they were Outlast. So now they've revisited the Outlast org as a full 5 roster yet again. This team has not divested from each other. So the one thing that you can look forward to is their strong team play and their coordination. But on the flip side, the one thing that I'm going to really look forward to today, especially considering that they're going up against Team Cruelty, a very aggressive team who likes to get active on the defense, especially very early on. I'm gonna look to see how they adapt, because I remember their game in the qualifiers for closed quals. They played a best of 3 against Team Z just before they played their semi-final game to make it into the Crucible. And one thing they really struggled with was their ability to adapt mid-round. They kind of stalled out, especially when plan A didn't go right. So really what I'm looking forward to today is their ability to adapt if they have it, and their ability to have a plan B and C just in case the first plan doesn't go right.
So I guess the story is going to be told on where we go. Fellow, it's a best of 1. Where are we heading?
It's a great question. You mentioned that these two teams have already faced off against one another. That was back in Element 4. The map selection for that was Nighthaven Labs and Clubhouse. Map number 1 ended 7-5, going the way of Cruelty, and then Clubhouse was 7-4. So both fairly even, to say the least. It wasn't a total blowout with Cruelty winning, but it does make sense that some of those maps, like Clubhouse, ended up getting banned out. Another map that is in a similar play style, Chalet, very kill-centric map. Nighthaven Labs, also interestingly enough, being banned by Cruelty, despite them beating Outlast in that best of 3 series. We bring ourselves all the way over into Skyscraper, where for Cruelty, they're pretty confident on this map. Their most recent showing of it was in the LCQ, where they beat LIS, Loyalty is Scarce. That was Mr. B's old team. They beat them 7-2, so maybe they're still feeling confident here.
Okay, well, here's the big Cruelty redemption match. Just another
Don't know what happened there. All right, we're back. Okay.
Lose it?
I thought my vMix was dying, so I refreshed it, and I guess it was it wasn't actually the vMix, it was just me. I don't know. I really have no idea. But you know what? All the jitters out of the way in the run of show. We're now into the game, Chaka, where I briefly mentioned, Cruelty. They have a previous history on this map where they're, for the most part, pretty successful on it. Outlast, I haven't seen them play here on Skyscraper, but in a best of one series, you're typically, also going to be fine with going to that final decider map after banning, the other like 4 to 8 maps that are in the pool. Starting off with a pretty common ban, you've got Blackbeard off the board, who I have seen maybe played once or twice total since he's been reworked, as he has the highest attacking ban rate currently across every region, every tier of play. No matter what, he's almost always gone.
And with the Blackbeard being banned, plus now the Blitz, you still leave other operators on the board, like Deimos, which on Skyscraper is pretty damning because Skyscraper is a vertically inclined map. There's plenty of soft flooring. There's ways to hunt down the roamers. And you may see teams like Team Cruelty kind of exploit that a little bit, especially with Pyrox liking to play the Deimos quite a bit. You also leave Dokkaebi up, you leave Monty up. The list could go on about who you leave up on the attack. But on the defensive side, you ban out the Izami and the Tubarão. The Tubarão not being so common on Skyscraper, you leave up operators like the Mira and the Valkyrie, which I think it's more important to mention a Valkyrie in that conversation because Sky has so many layers to it, so many layers to hide those cameras. And that can be quite an issue for the attackers to deal with if they're not consistently bringing IQ, which is not guaranteed most of the time.
Now, between these two teams, Outlast, I got a chance to talk with Dami, who's on that team. He mentioned the aggression that Team Cruelty rely on primarily for a lot of their round wins. Someone like Valkyrie can definitely enable that aggressive playstyle, retaking positions of the map where you might assume that the roamers have fallen off because they have a black eye camera somewhere. For the late round, they could obviously flank up the house stairs and maybe shut down some sort of extension and halt and execute altogether. One thing that Outlast have been working on is trying to deal with that aggression, specifically against Team Cruelty. They've had a lot of time, run through the gauntlet in the Crucible to improve quite a lot since then. I'm really looking forward to see them play it. And Dami also having a lot of confidence going into this game, saying that he was the best and most experienced player inside of Rainbow Six Siege, saying that with his full chest out. So, I'm sure he's here to put on a performance.
Outlast starting off on the attack. It's going to be Office and Exhibition. You don't see this site being picked first often. Usually it's Karaoke and Tea. And it's really just both of these two top 4 sites being played most of the time. And then maybe you fit in a kitchen and barbecue. So far, though, no noise being made inside of the map. You still have these mirror windows to deal with. And most notably, for Outlast, they don't really have a lot of ways to crack the mirror windows, like an Ashe, like a Twitch. So they're already kind of running straight into an obstacle that they really have like no immediate way of dealing with it quite yet.
Seems to be a T over clear for Outlast dealing with this horizontal extension. They do spot the mirror you just highlighted. It does seem to be right around a soft wall, so maybe you can get some pressure there from the Sophia explosive blast. They don't. I'll say they do have a set of grenades. Good Vipoa on the IQ. Maybe droning out if someone's behind this mirror. They could shoot it open, throw a nade to create a bit of space here from Catwalk. That might force Pyrox to fall back. Then they could take some of that map control. But Ivan, not detected just yet, could go for an aggressive play if he wants to. There is someone just working in from Geisha. I don't know if Zonky will spot this player by the wave staircase, but about 1:20 left. Finally, Pyrox will fall off of that first extension. It's cleared out by Outlast, but again, they're not aware of Ivan. There's the first entry going the way of Team Cruelty, and he walks through Drum Doorway to find a second one. That's still the man advantage for Cruelty as they fall off this roam.
And for the most part, Outlast has just been stalled on the opposite side of the map, taking the long route and dealing with that mirror window. Kind of wasted a chunk of their time, and they've lost 2 people in the process of trying to deal with this extension. Now that they've got this control, with no hard breach to really break open the Dragon Wall because it's reinforced now, I mean, how are they going to break through this? They don't even have hard breach for the main office wall neither. So this is going to be really tough for them to try and walk in through, especially because Cruelty are just anchoring and holding crossfires.
Maybe get in through that house wall, perhaps. Good shot landed from Vipoa, but there's two stacked up here waiting for the execute. Skimzy, the shotgun, close quarters, plenty of damage with those slugs, and as Rai hops in through the sword window, his teammates all dead on the ground already. He's soon to join them shortly. A buddy ace between Ivan and the Cade, as Cruelty, zero struggle with their office extension.
Really good fallbacks as well from Team Cruelty. I know from their previous defenses, they have a really big issue with just like giving up space, especially when they need to. Pyrox fell off of the mezzanine, being forced off of the mirror window by a nade from Outlast. And so they kind of gave Outlast some control that they needed. But again, they were low on time. Their push was extremely one-dimensional and on just one side of the map. And they only really brought the Maverick. That's not really the optimal hard breach for this office side, for this office site. They can't get open the main breach. They can't really get open anything. They have no angles to work with through Outlast. And they're just kind of forced into crossfires in the end, which Team Cruelty are just going to easily win those.
That is something that Dami mentioned, was just the overall struggle. Something you talked about, actually, more specifically, Chaka, was the struggle with adapting in the mid to late round. They had this idea of how they want to attack onto an extension, how they want to attack to set up for that execute. And if that plan A doesn't work, they have no fallback. They have no opportunity to change where they want to position, where they want to rotate through, and how they want to adjust to still have a chance of winning that round. And I think that was a good example of exactly that, where Outlast had this idea of, okay, we're going to clear out these roamers over by Dragon, over by Drum, and then we're going to chance to push into the bomb site with a man advantage. And that didn't necessarily happen because they didn't have the right tools to deal with a mirror window, for example, to deal with someone that was lurking over by that wave staircase, which, I mean, you just drone the guy and then he falls back. They didn't even do that correctly. So really alarming start for Cruelty, but again, it's Skyscraper. It's a very defender-sided map. So if they're not able to win a couple of rounds, not a huge deal. If they find one or two attacking rounds, I'd say they'd be in pretty good shape. And they might start this round a little less sluggishly than what we just saw back in round number one. They've got a smoke here, or they got Vipoa with smoke grenades on the glass. Montaigne pushing in from Black Stairs. The help of this ROU cutting off this long line of sight. Good shot landed by Vipoa. C4 by Skimzy to down one, but he might have blown himself up in the process, or at least have been traded. Plant going down by the gridlock. There's coverage from the window. Vipoa getting off it just for a brief moment, but the plant has now been confirmed in a man advantage, and Rai is tucked in a corner. Cruelty cannot stop the mountain here, but they spot a crack. A small gap has opened up for Cruelty. Trying to find a way to get back in through the bomb site. They could maybe stick this plant, but they got to worry, of course, about Vipoa. Zonky going 1-for-1. That's huge for Cruelty as they've got the man advantage, and they still have site control. Hop out attempted it, shut down by Vipoa, but can he stop the plant?
No!
Ivan was long arming, but he got off of it. This might be winnable for Vipoa. There's only 7 seconds left, and as Ivan wins the gunfight, he gets off the diffuser, denying the round for Cruelty. Outlast, by their own opponent's mistake, will tie us up.
And I'm surprised that Ivan didn't stick it the very first time, because he was almost halfway through it. Vipoa did not have a good angle through the window just because of how deep Ivan was tucked into the corner. He just didn't know that, apparently, and so he just swings out on the window. Even though he gets the kill in the end, time was still extremely low. And Outlast do go for certain takes like that. They do go for maybe early round rushes, especially if they spot a gap near the site. And all they really needed to get inside of the site and get the plant down was just to kill the Geisha player. And also, there was really not much utility around the top black shield, so that was pretty easy to clear, especially with the Monty just pushing really deep into site. I thought that was a really good idea from Outlast that, you know, they capitalized on. And see, that's like really good. They had a plan A and they actually got to follow through with it, and they faced no disruptions because it was just a simple site rush that Cruelty clearly just weren't ready for.
So I love the idea of the ROU as well to help further isolate that black shield position. There was no one Black Stairs to assist. There was no one cutting through that projector to kind of dogpile on the Montaigne. And that just caused a little bit of chaos, and it helped Outlast, again, cement that site pressure, because now you've got multiple things happening all at the same time, which at the end of the day is helping facilitate that plant, but it's just more headaches, more mini games that Cruelty have to, finish before they can get back into site and play for that retake, stopping the plant. So there's one of the 2 rounds I mentioned that Outlast would most likely need to keep this competitive against Team Cruelty on one of the most, if not the most, defender-sided map in our current comp pool for Rainbow Six Siege. I almost thought for a minute there that Zonky could maybe find an opening kill if someone walks over to that cut, and yep, that's exactly what happens. Skimzy had 0 clue the window was open, lost that 1-for-1 fight, but thankfully Ivan's there for the trade. That'll keep us even 4 versus 4, but hey, good pickup kill there confirmed for Outlast.
Yeah, and at the moment though, Outlast just aren't pushing together as a team though. Like, they did that when Zonky kind of overextended, and they're giving away picks now to Ivan, who's just sitting alone on the roam. They had the info that he was here, and yet they don't capitalize off of this. What
Oh my god, a third for Ivan! There's just no way. This guy should already be dead. Beautiful shot with the Mossberg. That might just be the round confirmed for Cruelty. They're still trying to hunt this mute at the minute 30 mark. I think maybe a drone flown out towards Rai. That schmink downed Rai. Where is this guy? He's over on Geisha Balk. Yep, that's a confirmed kill for Ivan. If it weren't for the fact that Rai is literally across the map, this could possibly be an ace. I think Ivan might even try to hop out to solidify that here. But at the minute 14 mark, it seems rather dire. Rai hoping that someone might hop out the window, give him a freebie in this round. He's not out of the fight just yet. If maybe finds a kill on someone like Pyrox and Fatal, Ivan's still low in HP. That could easily turn things into a 1v2. But all that Cruelty have to do at this point is just sit and wait for him to enter the building.
And it was just one player. They had good cutoffs, like everywhere around the map. And he gets smoked going through the window repel. Matombo's, that's an easy kill for him with the Mossberg. And didn't even need the smoke grenade, not at all. And I'm gonna be completely honest, that was not really a good round, if I'm being completely honest, for Outlast. You have one player isolated on the office side of the map. They don't really bring a hard breach to open up triple wall, which I think was reinforced by Team Cruelty for this like one-man extension on the office side of the map. And you'll just see it on your screens here. Outlast just pushed this guy one by one. It started with Zonky over pushing. Terry didn't really make the rest of his team. Another player pushed him through office, and then the third one is like he has no backup. There was somebody coming up main stairs or house stairs, and they're just like not waiting to. And the one highlighted for Outlast is because they've been playing for so long with each other, basically like a year, maybe coming up 2 by this point. They have really good team coordination. But that was not a round that displayed good team coordination. It just seemed like everybody had their own idea and they decided to execute it by themselves. But they forget that Cruelty are individually great. And Ivan can just win a round by himself just like Pyrox is. It's not just one player.
Absolutely. That's where Cruelty thrive, is when you give them those individual plays. Almost every single gunfight Ivan took there was in a 1v1. No one traded against him on Outlast. Another thing as well, it just hasn't felt like Outlast have been droning correctly. Like, there's the idea of getting info to where you want to push in from, but they're not really, picking out specific points in the map or parts of the map that really work in tandem with their players. Maybe this demonstration here by Dami could be a little different. Bandit trick on the house single wall, perfectly timed by Fatal. They can't get that avenue opened up unless they send somebody like Dami to go down below. They could maybe get Vert with Vipoa's help as well if they wanted to, but that might be a little more risky than just utilizing an Ash charge, obviously. But regardless, again, minute burned away, and Outlast kind of struggling with this initial roam clears. All that Cruelty had to do was just send over a bandit, and now they're totally stalling.
Yeah, and it goes back to the original point that you had about like good info gathering. I feel like a lot of T2 teams do this where they don't have like good prep drones or good prep phase drones set up already, where they have a general idea of what's happening, like a my god. Like a bandit trick, for example, something that is easily counterable by, like you mentioned, sending an Ashe on that house window and then just ashing up above. We see some silliness, not only from Outlast not expecting a run out from a bandit outside of the dragon window, but then the bandit running through the same window and running through a claymore that he didn't know was there.
Well, Rai entering the building, the Ying trying to assist Dami. Good job playing off that info Rai is providing with the literal mountain in front of him. Minute left here. Plenty of time for Outlast just to establish these cutoffs, get site control, but they've got to worry about this Solus down below. Plant not being confirmed just yet. Looks like they're trying to spot out this last possible defender's location. Ivan now walking up the wave staircase, looking for a tussle here against the Dokkaebi. That's good for one. But I think at this point, Rai might realize that they're not going to be able to go for the plant because, again, Solus is a hard counter to this. He's rotated off of Karaoke, now going into T, the only safe spot, to get this plant. But oh, he's been injured! Plant is confirmed, but it's now 1 versus 2. They've got this cutoff from Geisha. It'll be really challenging for Ivan to cross, but no one reacts in time! I think they've got an angle from the upside-down window rappel, but there's this bomb chassis that Ivan's sitting behind. There is just no way he wins this. Ivan getting off of the plant, spotting the Ashe through the wall. Lots of damage dealt, but he's able to get behind the Solus now. Yellow ping to detect him, but Ivan can't find a clear shot. The timer ticking down, just about 10 seconds left. He's got to stick this defuse, and it looks like Outlast once again, when T is brought to the board, they're confident as ever, securing that map control and spotting those gaps. But other than that, Cruelty, they've been dominant on their defense except for this one bomb site.
Yeah, like you mentioned, just a really good example of Outlast actually spotting the gap, and also a good example of what I wanted to look for this whole entire game was, like, can Outlast adapt when the first plant doesn't go awry? I thought that once they failed to open just one single wall on house because of a single bandit trick, that they would have just stalled out on that side of the map and just kind of like continue to butt their heads at a brick wall trying to get past it. But what they did instead is they realized, maybe because of the team that Cruelty are, they like to go for these heavy extensions, and that can leave extremely large gaps into sight. Nobody's holding Geisha, and for Outlast, you just walk right on in. I think they flashed right into Drum with the Candelas, and then just walked into Geisha, put somebody on the window, and got a free plant down in T. That was extremely smart from Outlast. It was not only just the plant, but also their ability to cut them off once they made a bunch of noise with the Yin Candelas, already having set themselves up in good cutoff positions.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse.
We go back to office. An initiation for Team Cruelty. There is a change of the Ashe, so at least they have something to counter those mirror windows if it comes down to that exact same extension. You know, the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They are starting on the opposing side of the map. Maybe they want to get, house opened up early. If they still want to clear out that extension starting over by T-Room, they have something to fall back on in terms of a lurk, besides just walking up house stairs. Might even go for that. Zonky maybe using the Maverick blowtorch to bait for the bandit, stopping him from tricking the wall. Either way, it's a good angle that is almost used effectively by Outlast, but for the meantime, still no entry kill. They'll get that hard breach eventually in this round once Rai can rotate over there, and I think he might be going for the office double wall first instead. I mean, honestly, if they notice the site is kind of vacant, maybe they just go fast. In this round, they spot at least 2 people towards site, one on house stairs, one directly in initiation. There are at least 2 or 3 people roaming still at this minute mark, but they also have a lot of people across the map a little bit closer towards Shrine. There's Vipo with the first entry down below on a lurk, and because Ivan's on the board, he could actually steal these black eye cameras too and give a lot of info for his team.
Trying to look at the positionings here for Team Cruelty, because that one kill could cause all of them to rotate on the other side of the map. Fatal finds a kill onto the player on the terrace cutoff. That's Rai. That's the ace. But he got his job done by opening up the office breach. Zonky has a good cutoff on the players on the opposite side of the map. So that just really isolates only 2 players on site if they can hold terrace off for a little bit and any of the rotations that the defenders make. At the moment, though, Outlast haven't really found a good opening on site. They've just been droning the whole entire time at site, and they've been standing outside of it, and that's really about it.
Oh, it was a good start for Outlast, but again, the fact it took them so long to at least just get that first kill from down below is definitely alarming. They might have just over-prioritized clearing out every single part of Cruelty's extension. They still have the bomb site to play in through, as a matter of fact. These mirror windows could be a really big power play. These final 40 seconds, Outlast still continuing to take their time. They've got one more Logi bomb, which could provide some last-minute info. They've got flank drones set up as well for their teammates, perhaps, in case they're worried about that factor. But they're the ones with the man advantage, so it wouldn't really make all that much sense to try to flank when you've got these power positions and time to your advantage. There's even still a Nitro Cell in the pocket of Skimzy that could come into effect. There's the Logi bomb, the final rally call for Outlast to push their way into the bomb site, trying to close the distance here against Team Cruelty's stronghold. Zonky down through the wall. Vipoa catches one off screen against Skimzy. It's a barrel through the terrace doorway, but Mutombo, he's going to stick this one through behind the table, and Fatal's there on the assist as well. Zero readjustment there. No one rotating to the other side of the map, and just barreling in through terrace gave Cruelty an easy execute denial.
They also just barely opened up the office breach. I don't know if you noticed, but they only got like the right side of the wall, meaning that the player who's on the table can just play there, stand up, and like not really be exposed, because as he's standing behind the table, the bomb chassis is covering him as well. And you can see here on the replay, as he's like swinging to the left, there's no way he can get shot if he's like swinging like that because of the bomb chassis being in the way. Either way, yeah, Outlast extremely one-dimensional. Again, on the same exact attack up top, they just attack from one side of the map, and despite opening up Office balcony, they don't use that to apply pressure to the only site player, despite Office being their main focus of execution, because, I mean, they were just droning it the whole entire round. So that tells me that they really wanted to plant there.
Can be the problem with focusing a little too much on just your info game, is that it dries up. If you've got no one playing off of that intel with the drones, someone can reposition, spots can change, you can work for kills while that downtime is occurring, brewing up by Outlast, because they had a pretty decent position, you know, about a minute 30 on the clock. They had a 4v3 advantage, and then they spent over a minute just droning and doing nothing else. That's a huge problem when no one's working off of that info, because that just allowed Cruelty to set up in power spots and wait for Outlast to push through only one doorway. They didn't even have anybody go in through Dragon besides one person, who I think ended up just dying first in that execute. So a good job by Cruelty, just not overcomplicating things, not overextending themselves to Outlast guns, and again, waiting for them to make that first move on the offense, something you almost want to never have happen when you're attacking such a defender-sided map, such as Skyscraper. But here comes Rai, looking to be the spearhead through this bottom house clear. Skimzy detecting him. There is Vert above, which they can spot the Montaigne through, but it's kind of a stalemate right now. There isn't much you can really do except just, you know, give info between each other. But it is a bedroom defense. I mean, they could theoretically use this Montaigne just to run right into sight and try to plant. That's definitely an idea. I'm just worried about the other Vert that Cruelty might try to get if that ends up happening.
I think they could just like, yeah, like you mentioned, they could just probably walk right on in. Was the Selma just shot because like it didn't fully detonate on that wall? Either way, there's like, yeah, if they don't have Vert actually like right above bathroom or right above the closet, I mean, that can create a big issue for them, especially if they don't really have like good info in that position or any good way to have any like consistent sound cues, because of the castle barricade. In the opposite closet, the one that's connecting between bathroom and bedroom, that won't be able to, that position and closet won't be able to see the plant if they get it directly on that wall. So that'll be something to think about. But at the moment, Outlast just again kind of like stalling out for time. They haven't gone for any type of top 4 clear because they're so adamant on the site direct take.
Gumine catching Rai by surprise, and he leaves Schmink alone to die. He was not ready for the swing from Ivan. Again, Team Cruelty not playing overtly aggressive here. Dami at least finds one on the Fatal, but Skimzy, not too much trouble here, and Rai just runs into Ivan without any help. Where is your teammate, Rai? Hoping to solo clear out sight, it backfires as he just forfeit case control to Team Cruelty. Zonky's got a nasty angle, but with that reinforcement beside Ivan, he's not in too much trouble. Dami solo clearing with 0 info above, and oh no, Zonky caught in the bear trap is eventually turned to dust, reduced to atoms by Team Cruelty. It's a 4-2 split. Not the worst case scenario there for Outlast, but again, I think just the way they were attacking is super concerning here, Chaka.
Yeah, again, they stalled out for time for most of that round. They spent most of it just like doing nothing but like opening up the closet wall and the main closet wall in a bedroom, and they never went for vertical control. Like, despite having the ace, you could use that to open up the triple wall or the double reinforcement inside of office to apply pressure to the top floor. Outlast never did that, and they were so scared to enter site because guess what? You have vertical above you, and they could see you when you try and enter the plant. You have vertical above not only bedroom, you have vertical above closet, you have the hatch that's wide open, you have vertical above the main closet in the bedroom, the bigger closet. So really there's no viable entry point for Outlast, and they knew it, but like, why did it take them so long to figure that out?
10 seconds left.
I guess we'll never know, Chaka. I really couldn't tell you, to be honest.
I guess we'll never know.
At least Outlast now, they're on the defense. That's the more favorable side of Skyscraper. They can set the tempo primarily and kind of react to what Cruelty are bringing for their attacks. A lot of utility focus, tons of hard breach here available, so Mutombo and Pyrox, they can kind of prioritize, you know, not one specific point of the map, but individually spread out their resources. You've got Geisha Wall, you've got the Office Clear that we've seen countless times being attempted by Outlast to deal with, but that wasn't, you know, too successful, to put it nicely. Plenty of pocket EMPs to also assist that hard breach, and yeah, there it is, Mutombo already over by Geisha. Maybe spotting that there's little to no presence over here. He didn't fully check the back hallway, though. And it seems like you've got at least someone playing there. That Schmink over by Geisha. The wall's been opened up. No one trying to react off of that immediately, though. But, you know, I like the diverse set of map control here by Cruelty, not just fully prioritizing offices, for example.
And they're very quick at getting like all of the breaches open, too. Like, at least much quicker than Outlast were when it came to their attack. So, like, they've opened Geisha Wall so far, they've opened up Office side, that means they could probably just, like, walk in, and since there's nobody from Outlast, like, extending on the Office side of the map, as it seems, they could just, like, again, walk in through Office and Exhibition and take that map control and then start applying pressures to areas like Geisha from Drum, for example, as soon as they can get, like, through Terrace.
Yeah, maybe they'll just try to rush Geisha. There's the flash to follow up. A nice C4 by Schmink, but the rest of Cruelty, they're firing on all cylinders. Fatal and Skimzy winning their 1-for-1s. That's a second now for Fatal. Pyrox springs up to join in on the chaos. And now it's Zonky over by Catwalk. He'll re-enter the bomb site of T-Room. Downs Pyrox. We're in a 1 versus 2, and Skimzy is low. Info to work off of. He knows the other one's by the downed ace. A double kill for Zonky, finishing off the Capitao. And now it's a 1v1. He knows where Fatal is, and he'll try to flank here, going to the rotate, back over to Catwalk, but Fatal's expecting it. They trade blows, but no initial win for either side. Baiting on the res, hoping to punish Zonky for overplaying his hand, but it's not going to work. Maybe he'll stick it the second time here, but no. Looks like he'll try to continue to bait. Bailiff to open up this bomb site. New angle applied here for the Grim. That forces Zonky now in a corner and utilizing the hives to flush him out of sight. Such a smart move, and that gives him time to pick up Pyrox. We're back into 2 versus 1 officially for Cruelty. The only problem is they don't have case control. They can't force a post plan, and they'll have to hunt down this lone bandit, and he catches Fatal off guard, rotating into the opposing bomb site, but there's the trade from Pyrox, perfectly timed off the wall. Close call there from Cruelty, but again, spotting the gap in the early round and sticking to that trade game is what kept them going.
Yeah, and the one thing that I said with Outlast during that round is the fact that there was like nobody holding over by Office and Exhibition, and keep in mind that it was like very early on in the round where Outlast decided to, well, not really exist on that side of the map anymore. They kind of just like played inside of Mezzanine, I think it was, and then I don't think they had anybody inside of Drums. So that allowed a really perfect pinch to happen on side of Mezzanine, giving Team Cruelty like immediate control. And like I mentioned, that allowed them to then overwhelm the player inside of Geisha. The only like piece of criticism that I can give Team Cruelty is the fact that like at the end of it, they kind of did give away some 1v1 engagements. Because again, they tend to be a very aggressive team that prioritizes taking aggressive individual gunfights, and sometimes that can put other teams in a really good position to come back, like it almost happened for Outlast with Zonky.
Really got to commend Ivan's work so far this game.
Yeah.
13 and 3. This guy has not stopped shooting. Yeah, but even then, the one kill he got in this half so far was probably one of the most impactful for this series so far, trading his teammate who managed to pick him up at the very end of that round. Shouts to Fatal, who's also having a pretty remarkable game. Usually you are the one to see Pyrox and then Ivan right behind him, but no, it's Ivan actually leading the charge. And Matumbo, who's now on the Montaigne. I'm really interested, again, with Cruelty being able to spot these gaps kind of early against Outlast, that they're going to be able to use the Montaigne kind of just to, again, brute force their way into the building early to work off of that aggressive playstyle we've already seen in just one round of their attacks, Chaka.
And I've seen a Monty quite a bit from Team Cruelty, at least with Matumbo playing it. I don't think I've seen Fatal play it at all. So I mean, it's gonna again like get some not only information but also distract Team Cruelty for the time being, while the rest of Team Cruelty take like other parts of the map. So I think somebody's like going to rotate up wave stairs. Another player has now just entered top black alongside the Monty, and that's gonna really apply a lot of pressure to Outlast. And I'm not too surprised that I see the Legion backing up and reinforcing that drum single wall.
That's going to limit where Cruelty can push from now that they cleared out the first line of defense, but Outlast hoping to buy more time and waste even more resources in this round. It's going to be really challenging here for Cruelty to push through that. They've actually given up Drum to an extent. They're still playing over by Terrace to not, fully waste any opportunity of winning a gunfight. That's now a third goo mine spotted for Matumbo. Two of them going in his foot, the other one being destroyed by a shield bash. Now he'll safely work his way forward. Oh, and they know someone's tucked in the rat corner by Drum. This could be an easy kill for Matumbo, just waiting for this guy to get trigger happy. It's a nade from Pyrox through the floor, actually. Because of that Deimos pistol, he can shoot through, create his own vertical, and then that's him an easy kill as Dami has no way to escape. Just waiting for a chance to maybe find a freebie, but it totally backfired on him. And now Cruelty, they've got the man advantage. They still have a lot of vert pressure because of that Deimos. They're not just solely relying on this Drum spot as the win condition. Warden now being detected. The hunt is on for Cruelty as they now open up a new line of sight here through Terrace. Looks like Matumbo's trying to rotate over towards the single door, maybe to go outside through the hallway. Pyrox from down below. He's really woken up on this attacking half, Chaka. Just about 15 seconds left. Sure, not a lot of time for Cruelty, but they're gathering so much info at this Montaigne, so much team play working around him. Vipoa, he slowed things down, but Cruelty, they cauterize the wound and they've got series point in their hands.
And to be fair, I was actually really afraid for Cruelty because I noticed they brought like no form of heart breach apart from the heart breach charges in the back pocket of Monty, and they primarily looked like they were gonna just attack from Drum and top shrine with no office pressure. But what they really did well was play into the vertical game. Remember what I said about like the ban phase with Blackbeard and Blitz being banned? Yeah, those are really strong operators, but Deimos is really good on this map too. And it was showcased perfectly well in that round from Team Cruelty. Not only using the Monty as a distraction, but sending the Deimos down below, using the depth marks to basically just wall hack players that were just above him on the other side of the floor. And because Outlast are just so overstimulated, not only from the amount of map control that Team Cruelty got, they were also overstimulated with people just shooting them down below. And to be fair with you, I don't blame them. I think what they could have done better though, John, is just keep up like any type of pressure on this side of the map, because Cruelty only stepped like 1 foot in the map and Outlast were just completely gone. They did not decide to hold anything after that.
Attackers are moving out. out to locate a bomb and defuse.
Yeah, that's kind of what the problem with Shields right now. Just a lot of teams kind of get stumped when finding a way to work around him. It might have been a better idea to try to hunt down Pyrox before he became too problematic, but obviously Outlast weren't aware that there was someone playing down below. They were just so tunnel visioned on the Montaigne that when you had this totally different thing happening at the same time, it just started making their heads spin. So really great job by Cruelty, punishing Outlast's inability to again adjust on the fly to these obstacles that are being thrown their way. And now they've got to bounce back 4 rounds in a row on their defensive side of Skyscraper. Montaigne being introduced once again, a new vertical op as well. Not going to be Deimos once again, which Pyrox found a 3K last round on an operator. It's instead going to be Buck, which, given the fact that almost every spot of this bomb site is destructible by Ver, I think Buck is a great option for this. And he could also apply some pressure from Geisha too, which is another point of interest Team Cruelty have shown since the last time they attacked this bomb site back in round number 7. That was their initial entry point, was just throwing 4 bodies over in Geisha. If not 3, then the other 2 pushed up wave stairs to kind of help assist that attack on the back side of the map. But now you've got this clear happening over by Minibar, over by Office. The Montaigne is there once again, and this time Outlast adjust. They recognize that Cruelty like to play down below to apply vert pressure, and they stop it dead in its tracks. Skimzy does collect a refrag though onto Rai. There's still this extension to worry about, but Ivan connects for another one as well, and now the man advantage swings back in the favor of Cruelty.
And they retake the vertical control as well. I like the idea from Outlast to at least have more utility on the opposite side of the map rather than just like retreating super early and then putting themselves in a position to then get overwhelmed into sight. I think the hold here was a lot longer. It clearly stalled out Cruelty, which is not something you would say a lot because Cruelty do like to brute force their way into attacks. And when you can stop them, that's an extremely good thing. Outlast so far, they've been able to keep the men count. Now, even with Bipolar grabbing that kill into Ivan, who just walked by himself into Shrine, and now they put themselves in a really good spot. They put themselves in a decent enough spot, and now they're sending somebody down below with the Nitro Cell. So maybe this will be an opportunity for them to stop the plant from Cruelty.
Vipoa detects the Monty, waiting on another person to back him up though. Info being swapped between sides. You've got these smaller angles to worry about. Plant going down, but Vipoa can't exactly spot this. And I think Cruelty just kind of were allowed sight for free. There was really no pressure to speak of from Outlast. There was no response whatsoever. Matumbo getting aggressive. He doesn't care. He's ready to fight this guy head on. And the pistol wins. What was Vipoa doing there? And Skimzy the final kill for the match. I mean, just a totally disjointed retake there by Outlast. And although the Monty was isolated, he wasn't dealt with properly. And I mean, what an intro for us, Chaka. Our first broadcast, one of the fastest ones for Crucible today, unless we see our JJ and Co match end in like a 7-0, for example. But man, this was a confident showing by Team Cruelty.
Yeah, and when I thought that Outlast had a really good hold in that round, I really did. I thought they had a really good hold on the opposite side of the map to waste more time. This allowed a lot of map control for Cruelty. And I said it before, like, if you can stall a team like Cruelty who like to move very quickly, who get inside of the map very quickly, and in this game have played so well off of each other, that's a really good plus in my book. Outlast were able to do that, but then like you said, the retake was so disjointed. I thought Schmink was going to take care of that from below because it looked like they had info on site. That wasn't the case. And Outlast just kind of like threw away a chance, I guess, to come back in that game.
Man, especially on Skyscraper, such a dominant, like if you're expecting that 5-1 half and they got two attacking wins on it, you thought for sure that this was going to be quite the closer game. I mean, they banned out the Blackbeard, they get the Blitz out, and yet Monty's still just going to be that ever-present pressure. Fellow, with 13-2, Ivan was sitting at the half. Was it already a foregone conclusion at that point to you?
Honestly, yeah. Like, just the way Outlast were playing, I had a lot of expectations for them. It just didn't look like they were playing as a team in the way you would have needed to against Cruelty, right? We talked about this in the first half. They weren't really droning their teammates into the building, walking in blind, taking these one-for-one gunfights against Cruelty, which they're extremely good at. Again, they don't have a lot of slouches. Sure, they lost in the LCQ, but those are against pro teams. You're back in Crucible now. There is a very big difference here in skill level, and I guess Outlast might have underestimated Cruelty today.
Chaka, is it underestimated them again, right? If they're going into it, they're going into their defensive half. What happened on the backside of this game, right? What happened to their defensive half where they should have been able to clear quite a few rounds and it just fell away from them?
I think their reactions to certain things that Cruelty brought out was extremely delayed. Like, we mentioned this a couple of times, especially when the Monty was brought out. And they, you had at the same time as that, Cruelty applying like vertical pressure, and they just kind of were very late to realize that, hey, somebody is retaking down below, and instead of keeping their nerves and then saying, hey, look, somebody needs to go down below to take care of this guy, and then maybe go for a flank to kill so that we can kill the Monty properly and deal with this Cruelty attack. That was really never said between the Outlast players, or well, that wasn't really well communicated. We saw them a bunch of times as well in their attacks struggle with adaptability and like being extremely one-dimensional with their attacks, only taking like one side of the map and not applying pressure on the other side. And that happened mainly on like their office and exhibition attacks. There was just so many examples of, again, the one thing that I said that Outlast struggle with is adaptability, and that showed so many times during this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a one and done, and it was over the quickest of the night. We're going to get the lobby set back up for match number 2, where JJ and Co takes on 1 HP. So sit back, relax, because when we come back, we'll bring you